host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Johnny. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You'll recall that about a month ago, I asked all of you to take a moment to give thanks for all of the blessings that you enjoy in your lives. Now, today, a different kind of message. This is the season of giving. I know you want to be generous with your family, your friends, your loved ones. But today, I'd like you to go one step further. I'd like you to open up your hands and open up your heart to those who are still suffering because of COVID-19. People who are suffering through no fault of their own. We're trying to build a gentler, kinder society. And if we all pitch in just a little bit, we're going to get there.
This is It Was a Thing on TV.
Spoiler number 1 is Dr. Lee Franz. It stinks.
What is going on? What is going on?
Episode 125. Submission numbers 021 and 837. Jeopardy! Not in the 1960s to 1975, and not the syndicated Trebek version. Well, like we've said over the last couple of episodes, this episode was never meant to be timely.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
It was put off for such a time when we felt that we were able to do it, which happens to be this week, Thursday, January 7th, as we record this. Tomorrow is Alex Trebek's final episode. Honestly, I was kind of shook up by it. Of course, I've been a long-time fan of Jeopardy. I was actually on the show in 2018, and it was a culmination of a lifelong work and a lifelong dream. I think I speak for my compatriots Mike and Greg when I say that this episode will serve as a tribute to his indomitable spirit, his love of knowledge, and his love of adventure. We will miss you very much.
I'm going to need extra tissues tomorrow night. Oh, the waterworks are going to be going. I'm just saying that right now.
I'm with you there, brother. I am with you there.
I'm still in a little bit of denial almost. I mean, I know it's been almost 2 months since he passed, but I just still don't believe it. I mean, I know it happened, but I'm just in denial.
It's hard.
Well, I think once we have the first episode with Ken Jennings, that may change my mind a bit. But it's just very weird knowing, as you see these episodes, that he died, what was it, like 9 days after they were recorded?
Yeah, about a week after they were recorded.
It was like a week and a half, yeah. So I think that's, again, part of the surreality is they're new episodes, but the person hosting the shows passed away 2 months ago. It's very weird and
it's
maybe
surreal.
very complex. Yeah.
I won't lie to you. I've been going through the emotions ever since the news came around, and that it's like I was watching the shows over the last month, but they were all. It felt very surreal to me, as I know that it was all building up to a sort of an expiry date. Like, yes, there is an end point, and as soon as the end point is reached, Alex is not going to be at the podium. But the thing of it is, yes, Alex is gone, but the show continues. And I bet you they were thinking the same thing when Alex was chosen to be the host of Jeopardy, that he would never be as good as Art Fleming was.
Yes. And that's actually the subject of our episode.
Yes, this would be the non-original / non-1984 onward episodes of Jeopardy.
Yes.
So basically we're just saying the syndicated version, the nighttime version, in 1974 and 75, and then Jeopardy in 1978 and 79.
Yeah.
Well, let's start off with the nighttime version in 74 and 75. There's not much to say about it because not much exists, but one of the interesting twists on it was there was a bonus prize at the end of the show. You didn't have returning champions because it was syndicated. You didn't have them coming over in the next episode the following week.
And I believe it was a weekly syndicated show.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely weekly syndicated. And there was a bonus prize for the top scorer that day, and that depended on how much money you won. Apparently, you could only bet in $5 increments because from $5 to $995 won you a compact car, which they mentioned is worth over $3,000. $1,000 to $1,495 won you a 1975 luxury car. Now, your definition of luxury might be different than mine. Does that mean a Cadillac? Does that mean a Lincoln? Is there a certain value of the car? Is it like between the compact car and the next prize up, which would be around $7,000? Your guess is as good as mine. $1,500 to $1,995 won you $10,000, and $2,000 or more won you $25,000. So, I mean, you could conceivably win well over $27,000 on this version. But also at the same point, how hard would it be to get $2,000? Just thinking about it, the values are 1/20th what they are nowadays.
Yeah, these were the same values as the daytime version in the 70s.
Yeah, so it was $10 to $50 in regular Jeopardy, and Double Jeopardy was $20 increments up to $100. So what that would mean is you'd have to win at least $40,000 on today's version to equal $2,000 back in 74, 75. How often does $40,000 happen on the current version, not including people like, let's say, Ken Jennings or Brad Rutter or James Holzhauer? Oh, coincidentally, The Chasers, starting tonight, ABC. Be there, 9 o'clock. Just saying.
Be there is another network, Mike.
Yeah, be watching.
Well, just be watching. That's the main point. But still, how many people win $40,000 a year? Not many. I would say, would you say under 5 is a fair estimate?
Yeah. We don't know the exact totals of people who won 2,000 on the original show, obviously.
I'm just comparing it to the current version. I think the high number last season was like 44,000.
Okay.
Maybe outside of, I don't know if Jason Zeffirneri had anything over 40,000, but I thought I remember like 44,000 was the high watermark last season, or so said Trebek. So it's not a common thing. Definitely not very common. But the other thing about the show is they really glitzed it up. And really, for lack of a better word, what I mean by glitzed it up is they added lights everywhere. There were lights on the Jeopardy sign behind the contestants. There were chasing lights on each of the lecterns in front of the contestants. There were chase lights around the Final Jeopardy logo, because if you remember, they had their own separate display for Final Jeopardy, and they put lights around that. It was very glitzy. And also they changed the dollar amount font from that skinny font that was on the daytime shows up until the cancellation to a thicker, fancier font that really stood out. But it's the same old Jeopardy that we know and love. It's still 1 daily double in the first round, 2 daily doubles in the second round, Final Jeopardy. If you lose or don't win the game, I should say, everybody takes home their money. But if you're not the big winner, you get your set of encyclopedias. And I'm sure even the first place winner got the encyclopedias on top of the card. But again, we don't really know because there's very little footage of this version out there.
Yeah, there's only one episode that's on YouTube, and it's in black and white.
Yeah.
And it was amazing when this was found a couple years ago.
Yes.
It was. I think this was originally broadcast in color, but for some reason it was recorded in black and white on YouTube. So,
well, that's the technology they had back then for videotape recording.
mm-hmm.
It was black and white. It wasn't necessarily all color yet.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly preserved either. I don't think Metro Media, who is in the business of distributing this version of Jeopardy in syndication, was in the position to actually preserve episodes of this sort of thing.
But that's not the main reason we're here.
No.
The meat and potatoes of the episode is coming up now, talking about actually kind of sort of two versions. We're going to talk about the 1978-79 version that was on NBC, but we're also going to talk about the 1977 CBS pilot.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to start our story with the pilot A of Jeopardy, done for CBS in 1977. It was recorded on March 6th of 1977. And I think we assumed universally, at least among the three of us, that this was made to replace Double Dare.
The 1976 version of Double Dare.
Yeah. And I think the reason we believe this is because, A, it was for CBS. There's actually a CBS slate on it. But also, it's a very similar show. It's a very thinking man's type of show. And it would almost make sense that you get rid of one sort of thinking man's type of show, even though it was good, and we've covered it in the past, and replace it with a legendary show, but oh boy, what was on the pilot definitely did not make it to air, and that's very much so for the better, for the most part.
Yeah, because I've seen it. You've showed me it. It's weird.
Well, the weird part, and this isn't even a joke, each contestant has 30 seconds to start in the Jeopardy round and clear off as much of the board as they can in 30 seconds. So you get 30 seconds, unfettered access to the board. You get the money if you're correct. You lose the money if you're wrong. But also, if you're wrong, that clue stays on the board.
Yes, that's the twist.
Yeah, but also it's sort of flawed because that's a severe advantage specifically for the last player, but more or less for both the second and third players, because they can go back and pick up what was missed by, again, previous players. So player one does not have that advantage. They just have the crack at the board, and they can't go back and pick the same clue again within that 30 seconds. The dollar values are the same as the 78, 79 version. It's 25, 50, 75, 100, 125 in the first round, and then double it to 50 down to 250 in multiples of $50 for round two. So it's pretty much the same game in that form. But this 30-second speed round is so weird, so awkward. And again, it's inherently flawed because player one does not have the same advantages as player two and player three. And actually, in the pilot, somebody did miss one of the clues, and one of the other people picked it up. So there's one issue already, and we're, not even like 5 minutes into the show.
Right.
But after everybody gets their 30 seconds speed round, if you will, solo round at the board, we play regular Jeopardy, not for terribly long. I mean, we've probably cleared a good, I'd say 40% of the board at this point. So the Jeopardy round only lasts maybe about 5 minutes, not terribly long. And just like the single Jeopardy round in the 78-79 version, the top two scores advance to the double Jeopardy round, and third place is gone. And I should add, the set's the same as the 78-79 set. You had that giant asterisk behind Art Fleming. But one interesting thing that they did in the pilot that they didn't do On the real version, or at least I haven't seen it on any of the episodes on YouTube, they actually showed the rotating of the board from single Jeopardy to double Jeopardy.
Ooh.
It was basically a giant trilon. It was a 3-sided figure, and it just rotated 120 degrees clockwise, and you went from Jeopardy to double Jeopardy. And I would assume that the Super Jeopardy round was done there. Oh, we'll get to the Super Jeopardy round in a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean right now. And then at the end of the show, at the end of the game, there wasn't Final Jeopardy. Time's bell rings. Whoever has the most money goes on to Super Jeopardy. I almost feel like I should have an echo effect there. Super Jeopardy.
Super.
And the way the Super Jeopardy round played, it was sort of used later in
That Guy.
Card. Yeah, if you think about it, that is basically the
That Guy.
card bonus round, where you have to get 5 in a row, up and down, diagonally, or side to side. The only difference between what aired in 78 and 79 and this version, the pilot, is it's actually a 90-second timed round. In this version, if you don't get 5 in a row before time runs out, you get $100 per correct answer. That's the way it was on the NBC version, the 78-79 version. If you got 3 strikes, you got $100 per correct answer. But at least on this pilot, you got $5,000 if you got 5 in a row without any misses, without any blemishes. Now, this didn't sell to CBS. They did get rid of Double Dare about a month later, but it's very coincidental that another highbrow smart quiz show, a pilot was being filmed right about a month before Double Dare got the can.
And ironically, this was to replace potentially a show hosted by Alex Trebek.
Hey, that's another way of looking at it, too. That's a very good point. So when Double Dare was canceled, it wasn't replaced by Jeopardy. It wasn't even replaced by another game. It was replaced with reruns of Here's Lucy. Like 10-year-old reruns of Here's Lucy?
10-year-old reruns of Here's Lucy.
Jeez. I mean, they could have gone All in the Family or any number of shows. Maude was still on at that time, even though maybe you don't want to necessarily air Maude as a daytime show in 1977. But yeah, they replaced Double Dare with Here's Lucy. Jeopardy got the shaft. Well, it only got the shaft for a hair over a year because it ended up on NBC, as we've been saying. The all-new Jeopardy on NBC in 1978 and 79 ran from October 2nd, 1978 to March 2nd, 1979 for 108 episodes.
This is Jeopardy! Now entering the studio are today's contestants. First, a program administrator from Irvine, California, Doug Wilson. And a textbook sales representative from Santa Monica, Susan Saltrick. And our returning champion, a laboratory instructor from Los Angeles, California, who so far has won a total of $24,525, Charlie Sider. And now, entering the studio is the host of Jeopardy, Art Fleming.
Thank you. Thank you, John Harlan. Thank you, my friends. Thank you so much. And, of course, thank you, our players. Thank you. And welcome to Jeopardy, America's favorite answer and question game, where, of course, we give you the answers and you must come up with a question.
And of course, people of a certain age, me, remember that as like furniture description music on Wheel of Fortune back in the mid-'80s.
Oh yeah, when they
I do remember it now that you mention it.
When they
I thought the theme sounded familiar. I really did.
With the subtle tone of Jack Clark talking about a beautiful diamond and turquoise ring valued at $8,000.
When you compare that with the loud, incredibly quick, almost staccato, fine print reading voice of John Harlan.
Hey, he was great on American Gladiators.
I didn't say he wasn't great on American Gladiators. I'm saying he was different from Jack Clark. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Jack Clark was very subtle, very... I mean, he was not a bombastic, overpowering voice, but he was very soothing. his voice was silky smooth.
And folks, we'll be talking about Jack Clark later this year when we talk about the 1985 Now You See It pilot.
Oh, yeah. He was actually really good on that pilot, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. So now it's 1978, not 1977. And we're back to a more normal type of Jeopardy. We don't have a 30-second speed round. We just go in and play Jeopardy like it was meant to be played. 3 people at the board together, fighting for control of the buzzer and the categories. None of this, I'm going to play the board for 30 seconds and I'm going to wipe out. Somebody could have easily wiped out all the big money categories in the pilot. That would screw over a player or possibly 2 players. Because if you got, what would that be, $750 in 30 seconds? There's no way you're not advancing. You could just be like, hold your hands up. Nope, I'm not touching the buzzer till Double Jeopardy. And the other 2 would be scrambling for survival.
Basically.
Yeah. Plus, also, we don't know what happened with the Daily Double. Because what if you encounter the Daily Double in that speed round? I'm sure it's not on there, but what if pre-chosen category or pre-chosen clue is the Daily Double? Do you have a backup just in case, or even a backup to the backup? I mean, these are questions we'll never have answered, but it's an interesting hypothetical. But so, yeah, we're into regular Jeopardy as we know and love, kind of. $25, $50, $75, $100, $125 in single Jeopardy. And once single Jeopardy is done, either by the clearing of the board or the ringing of the bell, top 2 people advance. And then those 2 people play Double Jeopardy, same way as we've ever known. 2 daily doubles. Dollar values now are $50, $100, $150, $200, $250. And then when the bell rings, whoever's leading is the day's champ and goes to play Super Jeopardy. And Super Jeopardy, the only difference between the pilot and this now, there's no clock. It's 3 strikes and you're out.
I like this.
I would say it's potentially better than what was on the pilot, just because you've got to think about how you're going to play the board. I mean,
Yes.
Do you want to run one category? I think the level of difficulty increases as you go down. So you could, try to clear out all the ones at the top. And I don't even know who would try and do that diagonal, because you'd have to be good at categories on either end. And if those aren't good categories for you, would you necessarily want to take a 4 or 5 in those categories? But I think the 3 strikes works out a lot better than the timer. But also, we should mention the prize structure. Oh my gosh, this is where you break out the slide rule.
Oh,
well,
boy.
it's not too bad. The first time you play Super Jeopardy, you're playing for $5,000.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward. The second time you play Super Jeopardy is $7,500.
Yes.
The third time is $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Okay.
$12,500, and then $15,000. You're retired after 5 games. I mean, that's pretty much been the rule for Jeopardy from the beginning until 17 years
2001.
ago.
2003.
Yeah.
I thought it was 2004. Okay.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, 2003, because 2003-04 was the first year they got rid of the rule, and that was obviously when Ken Jennings had the big run.
That's right, because he started in spring of 2004. That's right. So that's the game. I mean, you could win over $50,000, but you got to be perfect on Super Jeopardy 5 times. And the question writing was the same as it ever was. It was great. Good writing. It's just the weirdness, the awkwardness of, okay, we're going to take the top 2 of you after the first round. Third place person doesn't even get a chance to make a comeback. And gosh knows how many times have we seen a third place person come back because they were a little nervous or just weren't used to the timing of the buzzer, or they hit a daily double. And gosh knows that's the game changer right there. and the third place person doesn't even get that opportunity. I do wonder now that I think about it, was this maybe a money-saving measure? Because at least remember on the original Jeopardy, everybody got to keep whatever they won.
Yes.
Yeah. So was this a case of, okay, you know what? Third place, you're out of here. Enjoy your $75 and your rice-a-roni.
Yeah, I think that's the case, because with the increased dollar values, NBC probably didn't want to give a lot of money.
And, figuring what they had at the time, they had Wheel of Fortune, which could get a little pricey, especially if somebody gets very lucky hitting the $1,500 or $2,000 space. And they had Card Sharks, and gosh knows we've seen our fair share of people win well over $20,000 at the money cards.
Norma Brown, hello.
Yeah, Norma Brown is like number one. And then there was a kid, I believe it was Christmas of '79, who hit like for $22,400. A kid. Dad didn't say hold back. This is your college fund. Let's like put a little to the side. Play it safe. No, this kid is like, I'm like going for broke or almost for broke.
Wasn't that for a savings bond?
I know that was on the Eubanks version. The Eubanks version said, I think like prizes up to $2,500 were cash, and anything over was a savings bond. I don't know necessarily if that was the case on the Perry version. Maybe it was some sort of CBS rule. I'm talking out of my posterior here, but it may have been a CBS rule that, okay, we'll give up to $2,500 to kids, but anything over that, and we'll make a savings bond, which will mature in 7 years or what have you. But yeah, this version, it did not run long. Like I said, October 2nd to March 2nd. So that's 5 months on the nose, 108 episodes, and there's plenty of episodes on YouTube. At least one episode has aired on Game Show Network because, and actually, again, this is sort of timely because we just had New Year's. Their Y2 Play Marathon on New Year's Eve of 1999, we'll take off of Y2K, tee-hee-hee. They showed the final Jeopardy from 1978. But in addition, I don't know exactly how many episodes are on YouTube, but I believe the number is at least 5. Because there's a Tournament of Champions episode up there. There's the premiere. There's one that was recorded by one of the contestants. So there's got to be at least a good 5 or 6 other episodes up there besides the final episode.
That's crazy. There was a Tournament of Champions on this version of Jeopardy for a version that only lasted 5 months.
I haven't seen the episode in a while, and I don't know if it was from just the winners of the 78-79 version, or if it was
winners from the daytime version in the 60s and 70s.
From later in the 60s and 70s. Maybe they didn't have a Tournament of Champions proper after, say, mid-74 because they were canceled early 75. So maybe they brought back the champions from the last 6 months of the 74 version. But also it's very possible in terms of a Tournament of Champions, nobody ever said that their tournament had to have 15 players like what we know and love. Maybe their version was maybe a 2-day affair with, say, 3 people. I really don't know.
Well, one thing I want to note is one of the contestants on the 78-79 version of Jeopardy, and if you look at my Zoom background, my Zoom background here, the guy on, I believe, the right side of the image, you people who are listening audio have no idea what I'm talking about. Because you're not looking at Zoom like they are, but okay. One of the contestants on the 78-79 premiere of Jeopardy back on October 2nd, 1978, was a contestant by the name of Jim Niles. Now, Jim Niles would appear later in 1984 in January on Pressure Luck on CBS.
Yes.
He was on the January 26th, 84 episode, and he did not win that episode. So he was only on for that one episode in January of 84. But I just thought I'd want to mention that. So
There you go.
We should also add that Jeopardy, when it premiered, it aired at 10:30 a.m.
Yeah.
So it was right between two new shows at that point, or relatively new shows, Card Sharks and the new High Rollers. Again, oddly enough, hosted by Alex Trebek.
Yeah.
The new High Rollers. And then in January of 1979, specifically January 8th of 1979, it moved to a new time slot. It moved from 10:30, maybe because ratings weren't doing so well, which I can understand given where it moved. It moved back to noon. And remember, Jeopardy for ages in the 60s and 70s was noontime fare. So it moved back to its noontime. However, that only lasted for a hair under 2 months. And actually, it was replaced on at the 10:30 time slot by, and I'm pretty sure this is definitely a submission. And if it isn't, I'm adding it because I love this show. All-Star Secrets.
Right. I'm looking at it right now. All-Star Secrets.
I've heard the name. I don't know what All-Star Secrets is about.
I don't know what it's about either. All I know is that it was short-lived and
and it had a kick-ass theme song.
That's all we know. That's all we know about it.
No, we know a lot more than that. All-Star Secrets was a Bob Eubanks show. There were 5 celebrities on for the entirety of the week. And more or less, think of it as sort of a kind of like Tattletales, but not with somebody's spouse. Bob Eubanks would read a statement, a quote-unquote secret about a celebrity, and the contestants had to identify which celebrity that statement was about. And then at the end of every show, there was like a bigger secret that was revealed to one of the celebrities. Like, for example, Arte Johnson was on, and the end of that episode was a tale about how he went to a bar in Montreal and he got a bowl of peanuts dumped on him because the person that dumped the peanuts on him thought he was Bobby Riggs. And this is about the time of the Battle of the Sexes. So somebody thought he was Bobby Riggs, was a sexist and all that, got a bowl of peanuts dropped on his head.
Yeah, I can
totally see that.
Considering Arte Johnson and Bobby Riggs have a resemblance to each other, especially with the hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what happened? Somebody dumped a bowl of peanuts on Arte Johnson's head, and it happened to be Bobby Riggs.
Oh my God! You can't make this stuff up, folks.
Yeah, there's some really good secrets on this version where there was one involving Ross Martin, and his dream was to always conduct an orchestra. And this is out there because I know Adam Neediff, good friend of ours, posted it. I believe it was either on his Game Show Utopia Facebook page, or maybe it was the Bill Cullen Archive. Ross Martin wasn't on that week. It's out there somewhere. But yeah, All-Star Secrets replaced Jeopardy at 10:30 in the morning. And then 2 months later, Jeopardy's gone. Actually, there's a whole bunch of changes in the lineup at this point. Jeopardy's gone. Password Plus moves from 12:30 to noon. Hollywood Squares goes from 1 p.m. to 12:30. Days of Our Lives gets bumped up half an hour too, from 1 to 2 p.m. The Doctors moves up half an hour. So everything moved up half an hour. Doctors moved to 2 p.m. And then Another World gained that Jeopardy half an hour, expanding to 90 minutes. I really feel we need a slide rule just to explain that schedule change on March 5th of 79.
Now, if you've been watching any of the Password Plus reruns on Buzzer, doesn't Alan mention about Tell Your Friends Where We Are? Because the show, I think you told me, Mike, that it was constantly switching time slots around 79, 80.
I'm looking right now. I could tell you the time slots. It's premiered on January 8th of 79 at 12:30 p.m. So it was on right after Jeopardy. Then it moved to noon after Jeopardy got canceled. And then August of 79, it moved back to 12:30.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a corkboard and some red yarn. Dude.
Yeah, because I mentioned this to you, Mike, last year. Because when I saw Alan talk about it, my theory was this was my theory at the time when I told this to you. Because remember what came onto the NBC daytime schedule the following year in 1980?
The David Letterman show.
And it replaced 3 game shows.
And replaced 3 game shows: Hollywood Squares, Chain Reaction, and
High Rollers.
High Rollers, yeah.
So I was thinking, was Password Plus one of the 3 shows? And my thinking was, Alan and Dave knew each other back then. Because remember, Dave was on Password Plus.
Yeah.
Dave was also on the Liars Club, which Alan Ludden hosted. So I was thinking, did Dave give Alan any advance notice that this was happening? Is he was getting a show or what?
Well, Hollywood Squares was in its dying days. It was not the same since Paul Lynde left. And Chain Reaction, I don't know. I love Chain Reaction.
Yeah, me too. It was not going to be a show that lasted long.
No,
definitely not. Even though, oh, hey, surprise, it's going to be rebooted by GSN in the next month or so. New episodes premiere in February.
Wink, wink.
With Dylan Lane back as host.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
To quote our good friend Kimberly Donna Baum, oh, honey.
Dylan Lane now looks like a bald Dr. No.
Hey, bald is sexy.
Hey, I did that college basketball coach's streak. That's now a streak of 2 straight episodes with a James Bond reference.
Yay!
Oh,
because we're doing things all new in 2021.
You damn right we are.
Going back to Password Plus, and then it moved to 11:30, so it's went from 12:30 to noon. Now it's on at and then back to 12:30, and now it's going to 11:30, and that's in August of 1980. I believe that was when Letterman's show got cut down to a full hour instead of an hour and a half. And then Password Plus, hey, let's go back to noon, October of 1981.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and I think that's where it died because, looking when it was replaced in March of 1982, it was replaced by The Doctors. Not that one, the soap opera.
The soap opera, The Doctors?
So it was on at 11:30, it was on at noon, it was on at 12:30. It had like 5 different time slots, albeit only 3 were unique.
So it's just really hard to follow then.
So that's why Alan Ludden said, ask your friends where we're at.
Bet you dollars to donuts he didn't even know himself.
Yeah, you didn't want to tune in to Password Plus and find out, oh, darn it, I'm watching another episode of All-Star Secrets. Even though
actually, if you were looking for an episode of Password Plus, you didn't want to catch yourself watching the David Letterman show. Although maybe you did. I don't know.
Who knows what housewives were doing watching NBC in 1980?
They're waiting for Blockbusters to start? I don't know.
Yeah, they're waiting for Las Vegas Gambit. They're waiting for the Las Vegas Gambit
Las Vegas Gambit show.
But yeah, back to
NBC.
Yeah, back to Jeopardy 78.
Yeah, it's like where did this go wrong? Where can we begin? It seems like this show is trying to reinvent the wheel. I mean, Jeopardy is a good enough game to stand on its own. It doesn't need any tricks. You don't need to knock out one player after the first round like it's supposed to, beef up competition or something. No, it doesn't need that. You make Double Jeopardy that much more boring if you knock out one of the players.
But Chico, it was the 70s. It was looking for a gimmick.
That's what a lot of game shows that got updated had back then. They got updated for a modern audience in the 70s. Like Match Game got updated for a modern audience. The Price is Right got updated for a modern audience. Password, as we mentioned, with Password Plus got updated for a modern audience. So they were probably thinking, let's do the same thing with Jeopardy.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Jeopardy doesn't need any help.
We know that now, but I mean, they didn't in 1978.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you guys on that. I think just the updated set is enough, but it's NBC. And oh wait, this was 78, 79. This would have been about the time Fred Silverman came aboard.
Oh God!
Just saying.
That explains it.
Maybe it was Fred Silverman who put his hands in there and said, "Okay, we do want Jeopardy back, but we're gonna do this Super Jeopardy round." And who knows?
And we're also going to move it to California because that's where everything happens now.
Yeah.
It was a very different show in California.
Yeah, it looked different. It had a high-tech flair, at least high-tech for 79. You didn't have the scoreboard that you had on the NBC version originally. You actually had like the dot matrix light bulbs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they tried updating it for a new audience, but, yeah, it didn't work. Good thing we can say that the next update really did it justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, they had to get through two literally gigantic computers.
Well, that was the craze back in the early to mid-'80s.
Yeah.
The home computers. But, thank heavens that the show was rebooted, because not all old shows get rebooted after a 5-month flop.
No.
And some do. Thank heavens we have a Card Sharks after Card Sharks in 2001.
Oh,
even though I don't know if this Card Sharks is going to last another season. But yeah, I mean, it didn't kill off the franchise. And then the franchise came back 5 years later, and we're still talking about it. It's still in the air 37 plus years later.
Yeah.
Yep.
So something must have gone right.
Yeah. Well,
I think we need a proper close.
Well, hold up, Mike. Before we do, guys.
We don't have a proper close. We have this.
I got one thing to say to you guys.
What's that?
It's time for eBay Prices Right. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're bidding on, guys, is a lot of 3 vintage Jeopardy board games. Now, these are from Milton Bradley. It's the 4th edition of Jeopardy, the 7th edition of Jeopardy, and it's the 8th edition of Jeopardy. So you're bidding on the lot. I'll read the description. The 7th and 8th edition seem complete to the seller, according to the seller, to the parts list, but he's unsure of the 4th edition, but he says, looks okay. So you're bidding on...
It looks okay.
Okay. Looks okay to me. Okay, so you're bidding on the lot of 3 vintage Jeopardy board games. And I will start the bidding with Mike.
Okay. Thinking of how much I've paid for Jeopardy board games in the past, and actually one of them is the 4th edition, I don't want to tip off Chico. I'm going to just say $14.99.
Chico?
I'm going to say $17.99.
You have both overbid.
Oh, good. I thought I was going to say, I thought they'd be a little bit higher. I was thinking closer to like $20 or $30, but okay, good. This is a reasonable price then.
Okay, so you're going to go lower than $14.99.
Okay. I'll go $11.99.
Chico?
10 even.
The price of the lot of 3 vintage Jeopardy board games. Mike, you were so close with your original bid. $14.88.
Wow. And those were and one of those games, it looks okay.
Yeah, it looks okay.
We're good. Don't worry about it. It looks good.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Oh, it looks good.
Looks good.
Oh, it looks good.
Looks good.
Oh, it looks good.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about the 4th edition. It looks fine to me.
It's got only 2 games worth of categories and stuff of clues. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's like,
don't worry about it. It's good.
Like, it's like 3% complete. It's still good. It's still good.
It's like Homer Simpson with the flying pig.
Yeah, it's got a little dirt on it. It's still good. It's still good.
Sure, it's just a little wet. It's still good. It's still good. Sure, it's just a little flying. It's still good. It's still good. It's gone, Dad. I know.
So yeah, pick up that it's still good. It's still good board game if you want.
It's not the worst board game you could ever buy.
It's dated though. That's the one thing is the material is very dated.
Well, you could make your own clues.
Well, you could make your own,
totally.
but that's a lot of work though when you're talking about.
It really is a lot of work. Have you ever written your own game of Jeopardy, Greg? That is labor intensive.
It is. It's a labor of love. But yeah, the Jeopardy games from the 60s and 70s, especially the 60s, which the 4th edition would be from the 60s, extremely dated, very difficult. And actually, that's like the case for a lot of board games from the 60s. Uses a lot of 60s-centric material, and even when you're talking about close to the 60s, you're talking about the 50s and 40s. For heaven's sake, the 40s were 80 years ago. So it's not contemporary.
Yikes. The 40s were 80 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, later this year, when we talk about Pearl Harbor, that will be the 80th anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that, but now that we all feel really old, I think we need to phrase our closure in the form of a question.
The answer is Jeopardy, not involving the original run on NBC or Alex Trebek's run from '84. Mike.
What is the thing on TV?
Correct. Select again.
I'll take podcast websites for 400.
The answer is where you can find all 125 episodes, plus minisodes and live shows of It Was a Thing on TV.
What is
Greg?
What is It Was a Thing on TV.com?
Correct. You select.
I'll take where else you can find this fine podcast for 800.
And the answer is weekly drops of It Was a Thing on TV are available at this website.
What is Place to Be Nation Pop?
And what are we dropping this week, Greg?
We're dropping the Morton Downey Jr. show and the 2020 year in review, which just dropped yesterday as of the date we're releasing this episode. So you can relive the fun times we had recapping mostly everything that happened in television in the year 2020.
Yep. And
I don't think that's the correct answer. He gave way too much information.
Oh, whatever, Mike.
I'm trying to lock in. My buzzer's not working.
Okay. Well, that's it for the show. Remember, we are available wherever fine podcasts can be streamed. And of course, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And Mike, your final Jeopardy category is YouTube. The clue is what to do in order to gain access to new content.
Okay, let me write it down.
Do 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 do
Shut it!
do, do, dung, dung.
Now that we've changed pictures, it's time to see what Mike wrote. What did you? See what I did there, Greg? You see what I did there?
Yeah, I wrote, why did half the podcast listening audience fast forward past the last 30 seconds?
Judges?
No, it is what is Ring My Bell.
Well, I had that down too, but what is the fact that most of the people listening to the podcast did fast forward through 30 seconds of Jeopardy music by Greg? But yeah, what is Ring Our Bell, please? Subscribe.
Yes.
Yeah. And also follow us on Twitter if you haven't followed us on Twitter, because as of the time of recording, we are only 3 Twitter followers away from 50.
I know a lot of you download. We've gotten up to 15,000 downloads.
We just hit it today as we're recording this.
Yes. I would love it if those downloaders would go to our Twitter feed and subscribe. We put some class stuff on our Twitter feed.
Yeah, we do. If you just like us on Facebook, I mean, come on. You can at least go over to Jack Dorsey's Hate Box and follow us there.
Yeah, come on over. We actually post a lot more on Twitter than we do on Facebook.
Yep, we do.
And there's Instagram too, which I think we're right about 50 followers at this point.
There you go. So, yeah, don't forget to follow us on all social media at It Was a Thing on TV. Next week's show, what do we have next week?
Greg put it in the little preview montage we had after the year in review show. The first episode was, there's a reference in there. And we're definitely going to be talking about that reference because I think the first time the three of us heard that reference, I think all our jaws dropped. Our jaws like,
did they really say that?
They really said that.
They really said that. And we're like, okay, we need to find it, and then we need to actually hear it again.
I guarantee you Brandon Stoddard had a stroke probably when he heard that.
Oh, yeah. Somebody
Somebody had a stroke.
We'll definitely be talking about that next week, but there's actually a whole series beyond that 10-second segment. But, this is one that sort of got inspired by some recent episodes of the Match Game Hollywood Squares we saw. We did a little bit of research, and we're like, okay, we got to cover this as soon as possible.
And so we're going to cover it.
Yeah, yep. and the second episode, we're actually going to dip our toes back in the game show well again.
Oh, yeah.
Because gosh knows you guys don't mind listening to that.
Yeah.
Let's just say I like trivia.
Oh, who doesn't like trivia?
Trivia is awesome. Trivia is life, you know.
Do you like traps?
Do I like traps? Well, I do know that in the wonderful world of trivia, even a right answer can lead you to a trap.
Yeah. But you know who likes traps, Chico?
Who likes traps?
Admiral Akbar.
I was
How
hoping
come we haven't seen him on The Mandalorian yet?
Okay, I was really hoping you were going to say George Wendt likes traps. Oh, George Wendt also likes beans.
Awkward. Awkward. Awkward.
Well, get back to Chico saying, I'm surprised we didn't see him in The Mandalorian. He's right! We saw, like a bunch of Mon Calamari. We was Admiral Akbar in the second season of The Mandalorian.
I guess they're holding him out for the third. I don't know.
Yeah, especially considering who appeared in the last 20 minutes of season.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Not spoil it.
Although it's been like almost a month. If you haven't watched the final episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, come on.
What are you even doing with your life? Come on.
We recorded a podcast about this on our Podbean feed. Come on, guys. And by the way, we also have a special mini-sode that week.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is, it's a song from the 80s.
It's a song from the 80s, sung by a television personality from the 1980s.
And gosh knows enough of them sang songs in the 1980s.
Everybody who was on television sang a song in the 1980s. Yeah, we're not going to tell you who, but...
Yeah, but there's a reason why we picked this. I picked this music video and why we had to discuss this as a mini-sode.
I want to hear this, but not right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week when we'll have 2 and things on TV and then a mini-sode about a thing on TV. But until then, I've been Greg, that was Mike, and that was Chico. And we'll be back here next week with a couple more things on TV. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Wow!
Oh, thank you. Have a surprise for one of our stars. Like I tell you, Artie Johnson, please join me. Hurry, Artie. We only have a few seconds, Artie. Okay, now you told us
for Billy Carter.
Now you told us Artie, that people confuse you with other people. A lady actually dumped a bowl of peanuts on your head because she thought you were Bobby Riggs.
Yes.
Well, you haven't seen that lady since that incident, and you think she's still somewhere in Canada. Well, Artie, here's your chance to get back at that lady. So come over here now. Come over here. I want you to get up on the ladder.
Yes.
Hop up on the ladder.
Yes.
Right? Go ahead. Good. Get up on the ladder.
Yes.
I
got a feeling it's my wife.
No. Stand right up on the ladder.
Yes.
Right? All the way. One more step.
I get.
No, you're all right. I'll hold you. One more.
I can't stand
Okay, now here's your chance to get even with that person that caused all of that problem.